For this last portion of this exercise, I'm going to demonstrate how we can modify a render style and also use image effects to create a sketch-like quality, for example, for our presentation model. So the first thing I've done is I've gone ahead and rendered this scene. I did some adjustments to the lighting. I added another point source light inside of the room at a lower level, and I also brought down the level of the hallway lights to just kind of balance the lighting a little bit until I came across a setting that works pretty well. I still want to make some adjustments, and I'll show you how to do those in just a moment. But I also kind of want this to say this is not a done deal. I want to show some rough lines and some line work that gives it a more kind of painterly or drafting quality. The easiest way to do that is to modify the render style. So the easiest way for me to do that is through the Resource Manager. I'm going to go ahead and select the Resource Manager. I'm going to turn what I'm looking for to RenderWorks Styles, and I'm going to search for white. That's the keyword that I remember. And there's my Realistic Colors White render mode. When I right-click on the icon there, the little T-bot, I can find the Edit menu. Going into the Edit menu, I get this dialog. And what I would like to do is add some lines. So I'm going to go to the tab labeled Edges, and I'm going to click Apply Artistic Edges. Now, I've got a variety of different kind of edges that I could use. Let's say if I used this concept sketch edge. That's kind of nice. I like the way it kind of overshoots the mark and feels a little looser. Let's look at a pencil loose and see if that one's better. Ooh, that's way too loose for me. So I think sketch concept works quite well. The line weight is going to be just a little bit heavy for me, particularly since I'm still in a low resolution. I'm going to make that 0.5. And the color, I'm going to choose a reasonably dark gray so that it has kind of a pencil feel. All right, when I click OK, that's going to bring me back here, and it shows me that I need to update my viewport with the new render style. So let's speed that process up and do that now. So now that the rendering is complete and I've added my pencil lines onto the drawing, I'm ready to do a little bit of additional manipulation to kind of convey the idea that I might use in a sketch. I love how the lines add a little more casual quality to it and suggest to the design team, hey, we can still work on this. This is really just conceptual. This is what I'm thinking. So with the viewport selected, I'm going to use the Object Info palette and scroll down all the way to the bottom. And you'll notice this checkbox here, Apply Image Effects. When I click that on, it opens up the Image Effects Settings button, which when I click, I can begin to make some adjustments. Now, there are some auto-level things that I can try out first to kind of help balance out, and the computer will suggest things that might work right. So I'm going to try that first. That's really nice, actually. It created some nice intense shadow and some bright highlights. It helped to accentuate the forms and the shapes of the drawing. I really kind of like that. I may also play around a little bit with the exposure, bring that down just a little bit. I'm going to amplify the contrast so it looks more like it was done maybe with marker or watercolor on board. I can bring the highlights down or up, saturation, temperature, play around with the settings and see what you like. I'm just going to warm it up a little bit with a little bit of sepia tone and also take the color temperature over into the warm side. I can also add a little bit of a vignette to the drawing so that it sits well on the page or on the presentation slide. I'm going to click Apply, and actually I could click Preview first to see whether I like those changes or not. And it's nice because in the thumbnail, you're kind of far away, but when you see it in real scale, you begin to recognize any weaknesses in what you're proposing. I think, for example, I want to reduce the amount of sepia in there and bring the color temperature back just a little bit. Now let's preview that. Yeah, that's nice. It's just slightly warm, a little bit gray. I'm going to apply those changes. And now I've got this piece that I could then export into Photoshop or into a PowerPoint or however I wanted to represent it so that I could show it in the meeting or email it to the design team so that they could begin to get an idea of what we're doing conceptually with the show.